Hello, hello. Michelle here with My Designs in the Chaos, where it's my goal to develop, encourage, and grow your crafting talent and confidence. Now, I bet you thought that I had forgotten about today's daily dose of design. It is late on Sunday night, but I wanted to go live and share episode number 18 of the Daily Dose of Design. And what this is it is a 30-day series where I am going live every single day for 30 days, answering your questions all about SVG files and designing files and when to use what and how to do things in your software, stuff like that. And so every single episode is a question from one of y'all. If you have a question that has not yet been answered, make sure to send it over info@mydesignsandthechaos.com because I would love to be able to feature you and your questions. If you're here, please say hello. Let me know that you're here. I would love to hear maybe where you are watching from on this Sunday evening, maybe what you created this weekend. And if you're watching on the replay, hello. I'm glad you're here on the replay, and make sure to hit replay in the comments so I can come back and say hey. And if you have a question as we go, please feel free to leave a question. So tonight we are going to be talking a little bit about the question, what is a PNG file? So I've been talking a lot about SVG files. I've talked about what they are, what it stands for, what does that mean in our software, how do we trace them, what do we use to design them? Like, I've kind of gone into a whole lot of details in this series. And today our question comes from a reader who said, okay, I am understanding more about the SVG files, but what about the PNG file? What is the difference of that one? When do I use that one? And why might I use that one rather than the SVG? Which is a great question, because in almost every single SVG download that you get, at least for me, it includes the PNG. So, and why is that? What do we use that for? And sometimes you can either you can even like design a PNG, then just use it as the PNG, or you can download just a PNG. And so I want to talk a little bit about that tonight, about what is the PNG file, when should you use it, and how is it different from the SVG. So I'm going to talk about three main ways that it's different, and then when you might want to use it. So and share in the comments if you have an additional way that you love to use your PNG files. But I want to talk a little bit about how it's different first. So the very first, like the biggest difference between a PNG, a portable network graphic file, from an SVG, which is a scalable vector graphic, is the foundational file type. Now, there's a lot of computer speak here on vector and raster, but the two things that you need to know is when you see SVG, that means, like I talked about previously in our series, you can stretch that file out as big as you want and it will never get pixelated. When I say pixelated, I mean like all the, you know how sometimes it gets kind of fuzzy and it's like, I can't really see it. Well, an SVG won't ever get like that. When you have a PNG file, it's actually a raster image. And what happens is it's made up of a whole bunch of tiny, tiny squares. And so what happens is when you start stretching that out and making it larger or bigger, instead of like a vector where it starts refilling the squares and kind of filling that space in, those squares stay in the exact same spot. So you're basically just taking it and stretching it. And that's why over time, it starts to look really kind of blurry. Or like if you've ever uploaded a photo and it says, hey, you don't have a good resolution on that. It's because you're probably using a raster image that is trying to be bigger than what it was originally saved for, because those little squares are being stretched out to a really, really large amount. Okay, so that's number one. It's a raster image. It's not a vector. And so if you stretch it out really big, it's going to get blurry or fuzzy. It's going to get all pixelated is what that's called. Whereas an SVG file doesn't do that. But if you save your PNG file at a very high resolution, typically like 300 ppi or more, then it shouldn't get like that because the squares are so close together. You should be able to get it pretty big. But that's difference number one, raster, not vector, for a PNG image. Number two, the second biggest difference between an SVG versus a PNG is that the PNG is flat. It only has one layer to it. So sometimes you'll see these PNG files that looks like they have shadows and clip arts and they have layers and they have all these different things to them. And you get them in your software and it's like, what is going on? I can't ungroup. I can't do anything. I can't separate this. That's probably because you have the PNG in there. It's one layer. You can't go in and select each individual item to cut each one of those on your machine. So that's a big difference. Number two, it's one layer, where an SVG file is designed to be multiple layers. Okay, so that's number two, it's flat. Number three, what the difference is with the PNG. And if you're learning something new, give me a shout out in the comments. Say, whoa, I didn't realize that about the squares or stretching it out. I'd love to hear if you've learned something new tonight. So that's number two. It's flat. It's one layer. Number three, another big difference when you have an SVG versus a PNG, when you upload your PNG, you can't really adjust the colors on it. It is what it is. It's a flat one element item. Whereas an SVG, you can upload that into your software, you can manipulate all the layers, and you can change the coloring on it. The PNG, it is what it is. Now, of course, you can absolutely take the PNG and you can trace it. And when you trace it, that's actually converting it, and then you can change the coloring on it. But if you use that PNG as is, those colors are exactly the way that you're going to see them whenever you print them. You can't go in and manipulate because, again, it's one layer. You can't go in and manipulate all of the different elements. So that's big difference number three. So again, it's a raster image, not a vector, which just means it will get pixelated over time. Number two big difference is it's totally flat. It's one element. It doesn't have layers. Number three difference between a PNG and an SVG is that you can't edit the coloring in it. So you can't go in and manipulate the individual elements unless it's traced. So those are your three big differences. So the question then becomes, well, when do I use this file? When do I use it? And this file type is great when you want to do print and cut. Like if you want to make stickers or you want to use printable vinyl, or you have a design that has so many different elements, it's like, oh, I don't want to have to cut every single one of those pieces of that design. A PNG is great because then it's one layer, one element, you can print it out and you can just cut around the outline. So whenever you see stickers, that's typically, you're going to use the PNG file for that. It's also great for sublimation designs because, again, you're pressing everything at once. You're not layering vinyl onto it in a whole bunch of different elements. So those are going to be probably your two most practical times that you would use those types of files. So hopefully this helps clarify what the difference is between a PNG and an SVG. Now, if you would like to get our daily dose of design in your inbox every single day, make sure to click the link in either above or below, depending on which platform you're watching on, and it will be in your inbox every single day. And if you learn something new or you're enjoying this series, make sure to spread the love on whatever platform it is that you are watching it on. I really, really appreciate it. And if you have a question that you would like for me to answer in our daily dose of design, then make sure to send it over info@mydesignsandthechaos.com, because I would love to be able to walk you through in a really easy way exactly the answer to your question. So I can't wait to connect with you, and I will see you guys back tomorrow for episode number 19. Okay, y'all, have a great night. Bye.